Hi everyone. So I had a request to make a video about bird mash. Now it kind of goes under different names depending on who you talk to. Um, most of the people most of my bird friends call it bird mash, and essentially what it is a mixture of certain ingredients that people usually um, that people put together for their birds that can be frozen or stored that can be frozen or stored and given to your birds on a daily basis to provide them with some fresh food. So there really is no rule to making bird mash. I know a lot of people look for recipes or um, I guess really like suggestions of what you can put in there, but every bird is different, and depending on what you can or cannot get in your area, there are certain things that obviously may or may not be added to this. It's not like making a bird bread. You really can't do this wrong, just so long as everything that you put into a bird mash is safe for your birds. Um, really, the list is endless. So I'm just going to suggest some things that I use on a regular basis. My birds like. I find they're easy to get a hold of. They store very well, and it'll kind of give you an idea of where you can start. Now, I usually freeze my bird mash in 2-pound Tupperware or 2-pound margarine containers. With my birds, and especially with Goody, he's a bigger guy. Um, I find that size works best. I don't normally fill it all the way to the top, usually about halfway, just so that I've got fresh foods, like they're not going to sit in the fridge for like a week. So yeah, um, try to stick to things if you're planning on freezing that freeze well or that aren't going to go bad if you leave it in the fridge. So um, this is how I do. Like I said, this is how I do my bird mash. So what I start with is usually a pasta, so I can get my grains in there. I try to stick with organic, um, whole wheat, whole grain pasta. I don't like whole grain pasta. My birds don't really care. Um, you're gonna want to find like you don't use something that's been like really over processed. The whole idea of mash is to provide something that's a little bit more fresh and a little bit better for your bird. So I always recommend trying to find something organic, whole wheat, whole grain, something along those lines. Now I don't recommend spaghetti or any other kind of long noodle, just because it's hard to get littler batches out of it. Like it's hard to divvy up into your dishes. Macaroni is a huge hit at my house. Same with the spiral noodles. Every now and again, I'll get a little creative, or we'll go out of the box and use the bow tie noodles. Really, just it's not a big deal what shape they are, just so long as your bird eats it. If they have a particular shape that they like, by all means, go for it. So the second part of my bird mash, I don't freeze um, because I want the nutritional value to stay in the food. Now, a lot of people will use just plain old bird seed that they put into their bird mash, which I think is kind of a redundant thing to do because, well, at least at my house, I provide my birds with seeds as a foraging food. So I've usually put it in their foraging toys so that they've actually got to work for it. I don't recommend a strictly pelleted diet. Um, uh, the base of their food certainly should be pellets and not mostly seeds. But I don't recommend taking seeds completely out of the diet, especially if you have a bird that is caged for most of the day or doesn't get a lot of exercise, because a lot of seeds are very fatty and birds are particular and will pick out what they like and leave the rest, which is usually sunflower seeds. So I don't use commercially available bird seed. I usually use sprouted seeds. Now, obviously, you can't. Well, I'm sure you could freeze a sprouted seed. I don't know um, how nutrition it would remain if you froze it. But the whole idea, for me at least, sprouting a seed first is that it's more bioavailable um, if you sprout them first. So it's really simple to sprout seeds. There's a really good video on YouTube about sprouting seeds for your birds. I will try to remember to link it in the description. Um, you can use just about anything, just as long as it's a bird-safe food. I'm sure that there are hundreds of lists out there of things that you could try. I've got a small list here of what I use, or actually things that I've never thought to use that would make absolute sense. So I've got barley, which I have used, popcorn, which I've used, oats. Um, when I put rice in my bird mash, I usually cook it first, but you can also sprout unprocessed rice. Almonds, I've never sprouted, but I give my birds almonds. I have used kale, radish seeds. Goody loves radish seeds. They're very spicy. So if your bird likes spicy things, radish seeds would be a good way, or a good thing to throw in there. Sesame, quinoa is one of the best grains that you can give to any animal. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, especially my dog and cat videos, you will know that I am not a fan of giving grains to dogs and cats. They don't need them. It's very hard for me to make these videos sometimes because I encourage bird owners to give their birds grains, and it just goes against my canine nutrition background. Um, so quinoa is usually pretty easy to get a hold of. Most larger supermarkets will have it. It's a very small grain. My birds love quinoa. I love quinoa. We put quinoa in everything. Some other things that I've used, lentils. I use the green and red lentils, and they're really easy to sprout. Mung beans I have used. I find that my birds aren't huge on them. I don't mind them. This next one, okay, so funny story. Growing up, I went to a friend's house, and they were having this particular item for dinner, or as part of their dinner, and she asked me if I liked them. And I had no idea what she was talking about, and she thought I was nuts. She's like, oh my god, Loren, how could you not know what this is? So she assured me, oh, don't worry about it, you'll like it, etc., etc. So we sit down for dinner, and I realized that I do know what this food is, but it goes by two different names. So the garbanzo bean is one of my favorites. I love garbanzos, but most people know them as chickpeas. So it is very easy to sprout garbanzo beans. So I definitely recommend you add those. Try starting with things that are easy. Like I said, garbanzos are pretty easy. Quinoa will sprout in a couple hours. So if you're new to sprouting, that might be where you want to start. So like I said, I don't normally add sprouted seeds to my mix because it goes in the freezer, but I will add some of these if they are cooked, like the rice and the oats. Quinoa I usually cook and put in there, although I have sprouted them, because like I said, it doesn't take very long to sprout. Everything else I will sprout first before, and then I'll just kind of add it to the dishes as I go along. The other thing that I add to my bird mash are vegetables. Now, fruits are a little harder because, like I said, if you're freezing it, it's a little harder to freeze fruits, but in my opinion, it's a lot easier to make a base mash and add a few things fresh every day than to start from scratch every day. So usually what I do is I make like a roaster of this stuff, and I mix it all together, and then I freeze those portions, and then every day when I take my bird mash out and I make my dishes, I will add fresh fruits, and I will add my sprouted seeds, and yeah, and then if I decide to add any supplements, if somebody needs something, then I'll do that in the morning when I dish it all out. So, as far as vegetables go, you can really use whatever you like, whatever your birds like. Some birds prefer frozen, not frozen, cooked vegetables. Others prefer them raw. I know Goody prefers raw carrots over cooked carrots. My little guys prefer cooked carrots over raw. Broccoli doesn't seem to matter what way it is, so long as it's there, they're happy. So keep an open mind as to, you know, things that you can add. Peas are a good one. Carrots. Oh my goodness. Broccoli, cauliflower, any dark vegetable. I've used eggplant. I've used I try to stay away from the leafy greens because I find they're better if you add them fresh. So any hard ground vegetable, I will usually put in there. There's one that I'm thinking of, and I just snap peas. We love snap peas. We put bell peppers in there. We put um, corn. I'm a little easier on the corn. Corn is very sweet. Has a very high glycemic index, so I try to stay away from lots of corn. And then what I do is I put it in a roaster after I've kind of cooked all the things that need to be cooked and thawed and add whatever, and I'll mush it all together and I'll mix it up and I'll make sure that there's it's very well mixed. And I will usually add my herb salad at what I'm mixing. You can leave the herb salad out and add it during the day. Sometimes I'll leave herb salad. Well, actually, I always leave herb salad in my bird cages, but I will also put it in their bird mash. I find that if it's in there, they tend to eat it. I know that it's supposed to be more of like a self-medicating thing, but I figure any sort of greens that I can't normally get them to eat is better for them. So that is my bird mash video. Just make sure that you don't leave your bird mash out. Um, if your birds don't eat it like if they pick at it all day, maybe put smaller smaller amounts in the dish. If your birds don't like bird mash, then I would definitely recommend introducing them to bird mash with other birds who do, or again in smaller quantities, because you don't want it to go bad and then they decide to eat it. Um, Make sure that you're not overfeeding them bird mash. Of course, this is a great thing to add to their diet so they're not eating just pellets, but I would be scared that they're getting too much of any one particular thing, especially if your bird likes, let's say he likes macaroni but doesn't like fruits and vegetables, and he's just going to eat around everything else. Um, Use your common sense. You're obviously not going to give a big bird like 3 cups of bird mash a day. You know, make sure that you're giving them the appropriate quantity for their size. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm always looking for video recommendations. I've kind of been running out of a few things to talk about. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and I hope you like